Welcome to Bedcrime Stories podcast. I'm your host, T. You like your true crime without drama, but with facts and some speculation based on facts? Then you're in the right place. And if you enjoy this video, please like, share, subscribe, and leave me a comment. Without further ado, let's get started. We know that Stephan Sterns is locked up, and I don't think he's ever getting out for his alleged crimes against Madeline Soto. But what about Madeline's mother, Jenn? Is she in any way culpable for her daughter's death and her daughter's essay? Well, here's what one well-known former prosecutor, Vinnie Politan, had to say about this. I'm going to summarize what he said, okay? The police are saying that they have no plans to charge Jenn Soto. Jenn will be an important witness when it comes to Stephan Sterns' trial. She was at the home when Maddie died, and she knows some of what Stephan was up to on that Monday and also in the days after Maddie was reported missing. Now, we know that Jenn was given some special form of immunity during her long interview. The cops told her that if she tells them the truth at this point, then they're not going to hold her accountable for any previous statements she made that aren't true. And namely, she said that she saw Maddie alive, getting dressed on Monday morning. She later had to recant that statement. We know that Maddie was already deceased at 8 o'clock that morning. Vinnie Politan said that if the cops had evidence of Jenn's equal involvement in Maddie's death and essay, then she would have been charged by now. Thus, it sounds like the cops haven't unearthed any concrete evidence of Jenn's involvement. Many say, though, how could Jenn not have known what was going on between her daughter and Stephan for so long? Per Vinnie, when it comes to conspiracy, as in did Jenn conspire with Stephan Sterns, what would prosecutors need to have in the way of evidence to charge her with this? According to Politan, in Florida, to prove criminal conspiracy, the police would need to prove that 1. Jenn intended to commit the crime, and 2. Jenn agreed with Stephan to commit the crimes. Yes, it should be plural, crimes, both the death and all the essay charges. Per Vinnie, this could only happen if Stephan Sterns admitted to the crimes and then threw Jenn under the bus and said she was involved. So far, Stephan is saying that he's innocent. Dream on, dream on. Okay, I know I shouldn't quit my day job. So unless Stephan says he's guilty, he can't throw Jenn under the bus. Now, at one point, Stephan's mother and father said that they thought Jenn might be involved too. However, their latest statements on that are that they believe Stephan worked alone and he alone is responsible for the crimes. Vinnie said prosecutors could also consider charging Jenn with being an accessory after the fact, meaning that she helped Stephan after he committed the crimes. Now, to charge someone as an accessory in Florida, prosecutors must show 1. A felony was committed, 2. The defendant knew the person they were aiding had either committed a felony, was charged with a felony, or was convicted of a felony. 3. After the felony was committed, the defendant maintained or assisted the principal offender or someone who was an accessory before the fact or gave the offender any other kind of aid. 4. The intention of providing this aid was to help the offender avoid or escape arrest, trial, or punishment. So you'd have to prove Jenn had knowledge of Stephan SAing and or doing in Maddie. So the question is, did Jenn aid Stephan? Did she give him aid? She did make some odd statements. She told the media she saw Maddie alive on Monday, and this could have been said to show that Maddie was still alive Monday morning when Stephan drove her to school, and that whatever happened to Maddie befell her after Stephan dropped her off, so it wasn't Stephan. But of course, Jenn later recanted that statement when she spoke to the police. Jenn did tell Stephan's father that Stephan needed an attorney, but she said this after the police showed her the photo on Stephan's phone of Maddie and Stephan. Jenn has been supportive of Stephan, and Stephan did drive Jenn's car to the dump site on Monday night and to Northport, where his parents' house is, early Wednesday morning. But did Jenn know in advance that Stephan was going to take her car? It doesn't sound like it. From what Jenn has said, Stephan took her car while she was sleeping, and he didn't ask her permission to do this. According to Vinnie Politan, prosecutors would have to prove that Jenn knew that Stephan had done Maddie in and still allowed him to use her car to do whatever he did at the dump site and in Northport. Or did Jenn know that Stephan was going to use her vehicle? Did she allow him to use it knowing that he was going to go and possibly destroy evidence, or maybe consider a drive across the border to Mexico to avoid the long arm of the law? And the prosecutors would need to be able to prove Jenn did all of this beyond a reasonable doubt. They'd have to show that Jenn knew Stephan committed the crimes and helped him get away with it. Now, if they were miraculously able to do that, and Jenn were found guilty of being an accessory to a first-degree capital felony, that's what Stephan Sterns is charged with, she could receive a maximum of 30 years in prison. But again, the prosecutors have to prove all that stuff beyond a reasonable doubt. I would say that happening is doubtful. But let's imagine that Jenn was charged with being an accessory to those crimes in Florida. According to Vinnie Politan, her defense lawyer could say, 1, she did it because she was a victim of DV. 2, she had no duty to report Stephan Sterns to the police just because she suspected him or knew he committed a felony. It's aiding Stephan that would be a crime. Simply living with someone known to have committed a felony doesn't make you an accessory to the crime. That's the law in Florida, according to Vinnie Politan. I have to say, I really enjoy hearing Vinnie Politan talk about the law, talk about true crime. He is what I would call a silver fox. Then, according to Vinnie, there are potential abuse charges. Is Jenn guilty of this? The definitions are: aggravated child abuse occurs when a person, 1, commits aggravated battery on a child, 2, willfully tortures, maliciously punishes, or willfully and unlawfully cages a child, or 3, knowingly or willingly abuses a child and in so doing causes great bodily harm. I don't think they can get Jenn for that unless they had evidence that she participated in all of the crimes. But there are also these two. 1, a caregiver's failure or omission to provide a child with the care, supervision, and services necessary to maintain the child's physical and mental health, including but not limited to food, nutrition, clothing, shelter, supervision, medicine, and medical services that a prudent person would consider essential for the well-being of the child. Or 2, caregiver's failure to make a reasonable effort to protect a child from abuse or exploitation by another person. Bingo! Number 2 is a possibility. But again, according to Vinnie, the prosecutors aren't going to do any of this until after Stephan's trial. There are other charges as well related to having a child engage in performances of SA. This could be if Jenn induced the child, authorized the child to engage in this stuff, gave consent for the child to participate in this stuff. So the question is, did Jenn Soto consent to the photos found on Stephan Sterns' phone? Jenn has denied this, but she has said some odd things, like that stuff isn't the evil stuff, doing in Maddie was evil. The photos on Stephan's phone, from what we know, don't show Jenn Soto participating or involved. But did Maddie write anything in a journal or in a diary about her mom and her mom's involvement? We don't know. Then there are charges related to negligence. A person who willfully or by culpable negligence neglects a child and in so doing causes great bodily harm, permanent disability, or permanent disfigurement to the child, commits a felony of the second degree, punishable as provided in blah blah blah. 2. A person who knowingly or willfully abuses a child without causing great bodily harm, permanent disability, or permanent disfigurement to the child, commits a felony of the third degree. Jenn Soto sent Maddie to sleep upstairs in bedroom number 4 with Stephan Sterns. That could possibly show negligence, according to Vinnie Politan. But again, Vinnie said prosecutors will not charge Jenn for anything until Stephan goes to trial, because she's going to be a key witness at that trial. Vinnie did say that if prosecutors convict Stephan, then they might go after Jenn like they did with Charlie Adelson. He was convicted, and then they charged his mother, Donna Adelson. But here's the rub. The prosecutors, according to Politan, cannot use any of Jenn's testimony against her. Politan said prosecutors may say, Jenn's been through so much, we just need to leave her alone. It depends on the mindset of the prosecutor, which is what it feels like they did with Wendy Adelson, at least so far. But the prosecutors could also say, yes, we believe Jenn was involved and we're gonna go after her now. So we'll just have to see if and when Stephan goes to trial. To me, this guy is kidding himself to think a jury might find him innocent. That's just my opinion, but it feels like the evidence is overwhelming. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll see you next time on Bed Crime Stories.